to Lumio Palooza. We're so excited to be providing fun, fresh PD opportunities, highlighting how Lumio can provide a fluid workflow, benefiting teachers and students. I am Holly Shell. I'm a digital content manager from Oregon. Our webinar today is creating mathematicians with Lumio in the upper elementary classroom. Our presenter is Michelle Conway Gray, a professional development specialist from New Jersey. Thanks to everyone who introduced themselves in the chat. We love seeing all of the places you're from, which is fantastic. We really encourage participation. So if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat during the presentation. I will either answer them in the chat or we'll integrate them into the flow or we'll hold them for the end. I'm also going to be sharing resources in the chat, and for participating today, at the end of the session, you're going to complete a brief survey and then you will get your certificate for your participation. Also, the session is being recorded and we're going to email the recording to you early next week. So if you miss anything or need to review anything, don't worry, you will have all the opportunities. As you are learning today, we would love for you to share what you're learning from the session on social media. We've even got a social media asset you can use if you like, so I dropped that in the chat for you. And at this point, I'm going to turn things over to Michelle so we can dive into today's webinar, Creating Mathematicians with Lumio in the Upper Elementary Classroom.
Thank you, Holly, for that wonderful introduction. Part of about me, I guess, is I was a secondary math teacher. So I taught 7th and 8th grade math. And I know there's some South Carolina people in the house. So I actually taught in Charleston, South Carolina. So I'm pretty much in my element when I talk math, a little out of my element when we talk upper elementary. However, there's so many fun strategies that I learned from teachers I worked with as an instructional technology coach. So I put them here when I was thinking about today's session. I also would love for you to kind of pop in the chat some fun ideas that how you use Lumio in upper elementary math. But yeah, so we're getting really mathy today. We're going to be talking about math. Obviously, a lot of these ideas can go cross-curricular. So if there's anything like maybe you teach ELA too, there's definitely strategies here today that you can use in other content areas. So let's dive on in. So as usual, my sessions are always pretty interactive. I like when teachers see it from the student side. So I'm going to have you join my session today so you can get hands-on with some of the student activities that I've built here today. So I'm going to pop in the chat my join link. I know some of you might have been in my previous session, so you might be able to just click my name when you go to hellosmart.com. I'm going to pop this link in the chat. For those of you that are familiar with Lumio, you already kind of know about this classroom management tab, but this is where I get all my goods. I can change the pacing of a lesson. I see my students joining me. I can also convert any page at any time into an interactive space. There they all go. We have about 46 people, so I should be seeing about 46 people. I do know some people, might be in a car or have kids around and there's craziness. I know it's summertime, so just do what you can or just watch. Like Holly said, we have our recording coming your way early next week. If you are familiar with Lumio, you might not have realized that we've had a feature update recently. So we have this feature right here that says show class ID. It might help people that get that question a lot of, what's your code again? What's your code again? What's your code again? Now we have a persistent code that you could have at the bottom of your page for your students to join at any time. I'll give it about 30 more seconds to allow a few others to pop in here, and then I'm just going to go. And then Holly obviously can help out in the chat for anyone who wants to join. All right, perfect. I'm going to go ahead here and start it up. So as usual, I love a good check-in. I think it's important to know where my learners are, especially when I'm doing a virtual session like this with Lumio. I just love to see who I have in my classroom. How deep do I have to go with certain tools? If typically with Palooza, we'll have novice, expert in here. So I will try and throw some tips and tricks as we go through today's session. This file, or this slide, if you will, not file, but this slide itself, I made inside of Canva. I actually just like their editing tools and how pretty and aesthetic their slides can be, but I did import it into Lumio and I added these infinitely cloned cars. So these cars below, I added in Lumio and use our infinite cloner feature. So in a second, I'm going to turn this into a whole class page, but we have so many of these types of check-ins already in our Lumio library. We also have SEL type check-ins in our library. So this could be as simple as, where are you on your decimal journey, or where are you on your fractions journey? But for the sake of this, I just want to know, where are you on your Lumio journey? So you might have just came for Odessa's session because I saw she's in here right now, and you learned so much in her session. So you are going to move yourself in this car or move yourself in this roadway because maybe you're not a novice anymore because of Odessa. You're going towards developing. So let's see. I'm going to go back to my classroom management tab here, and I'm going to turn this space into whole class. Now it should give you access to grab one of those cars. Patience is key here, especially with Wi-Fi. Let me just change this real quick. Hop away, hop back to it. There we go. Easy fix. There she is in the chat. Of course, Odessa. All right, let's see. Let's see. So we have people all the way from novice all the way to expert coming in. As always, my goal is to make sure that you move down this roadmap a little bit. So it might be just a little bit further down from novice. I just hope that you get some more of an understanding after today's session. On a whole class whiteboard space, we are hoping that we get a little bit more management in the future, but as a teacher, I can turn off editing access in this swipe in the top right corner. So I know upper elementary, it's going to get crazy quickly. So you might have to reestablish expectations. Hey, boys and girls, remember, we are pulling one car out on this whole class whiteboard. I also can click on contributions here and see who added what. So there's my girl, Christina, who we have a session together next. She's feeling proficient all the way, getting close to expert. So I can actually click on the contributions and see who says what. If this was a text contribution, so I'm asking you how you're feeling that day, and you say, I am happy, and someone came in and changed it to I am sad, it will say added by Katie, edited by Holly. So I can see if a student manipulates the work. However, if they delete someone else's work, I won't be able to see that. Okay? Remember, we're being recorded. So if you need to go back and hear some of these things, that recording is going to be really, really key. All right, let's move on here. So perfect. You know, just like what I expected, it will run the gamut, novice all the way to expert. So I threw in some student examples that I thought would be really cool. And then hopefully we'll have some time to build some of these together in this next 45 minutes to an hour. And then you'll have a little bank of resources before school next year. So manipulatives. Manipulatives are huge in elementary school math. We do use them in secondary too, but in elementary, I feel like you guys really hone in on manipulatives. So I'm just going to pop out real quick. So it will say like waiting for teacher for just a second. You'll notice in our Lumio library that there is a full library for manipulatives. So if you feel like, hey, I want to find something like a numbers path to match the manipulatives in front of my kids, check out these manipulatives in this Lumio library, okay? I'm gonna hop back in my file now, so that will change your screen again back to me. And let me go back to this manipulative page. So this one I actually created myself using text and objects. I worked with an elementary school teacher who used to do this place value activity all the time with M&Ms. And I always knew, like, when she put out the M&Ms, the kids were crazy. They would eat all the M&Ms. So you lost like a bunch of 100,000s when we would need them for the activity. So maybe this is a good practice for the kids before I actually bring the M&Ms in real time. What is happening here is that I infinitely cloned these M&Ms so they can pull out as many as they want, and they can practice and keep practicing. And then once they pull them all out, I would want them to use their tool here to the side and add it up. So I put out 2 red, 2 green, so on and so forth, right? Yeah, this is like a popular one. I just see people are using this M&M one in their classrooms before, but and then they could practice all their place value, but with the idea of M&Ms in front of them. Maybe they actually have the M&Ms too in front of them, and they're using the physical M&Ms and the manipulative on the Lumio side. So I'm going to change this right when I actually, let me delete these off the page. I'm going to change this now, this time around, to individual. So I'm going to go back to my individual handout up here, or my classroom management tab, and I'm going to turn this into an individual handout this time. So I'm going to make everyone have their own copy. So for those that maybe have manipulatives, but they're just tired of always having to print them out, cut them out, laminate them, put them on each table, then they go missing and grow legs anyway. These virtual manipulatives are sometimes a better idea just for the sake of your own peace of mind. But like I said, the infinite cloner tool and then also our Lumio library of manipulatives are super, super valuable. I'll let you explore that. Check out some of the tools to the side. Check them out. I see Derek, he's exploring the done button. So when he hits done, I will see a green check mark next to their name. Derek's practicing still. I see some people said some late arrivals, so let me pop that open for you. Alrighty, so just for the sake of time, come back over to my Zoom screen so you can see the teacher side again. I know we're probably having some fun with those M&Ms and those fun tools, but let's just talk a little bit about the teacher side. So I can see who has hit done, which is the done button on the top right corner as a student. I was working with a math teacher before, and we were doing different like strategies of like adding fractions together, and she actually had her students hit done if they felt comfortable sharing their strategy with the class. So I just thought it was a really fun way of using the done button other than the obvious to tell me you're finished. So just keep that one in mind. But I also can hop into different students' work here. Let me see. Let me go into, let's see. Odessa, let's see what you're up to. I can actually say, you know what? I'm going to give her some feedback. So I'm going to go to my little image tool here, and I'm going to say, good job. I'm going to give her 100%, 100. And then I'm going to give her a little feedback. I love how you used your place value strategies. And she will see that feedback on her side. So you can give real-time feedback or go back in later and give feedback if you want. I also always have a clean teacher handout. So after the students are done, maybe we work together. So this bottom right corner, there's a teacher handout. So maybe we walk through a couple examples together. Okay, so even if I convert the page, I always still have that clean teacher handout. Then one more note, and let me click on that teacher handout. Immersive Reader is a really powerful tool too. So if I click on this book icon, any words on the page will highlight. So depending on what it is, I might want to group them all together so it's a little easier for my kids to use Immersive Reader, but just a strategy to keep in mind. This will, I can click on this page here and I can hit play.
Place value can be so sweet.
And it can play it for the students. And then another little secret tool, I highly just recommend just like exploring this tool a little bit, but another favorite little secret tool in here is this book icon, and I can translate it to any language. So if I have a Spanish speaking student in my classroom, I can come over here into the 3 different Spanish options. Maybe my student's coming from Mexico, and then swipe it on. Now,
El valor posicional puede ser tan dulce.
They're able to go between the original and Spanish. So just another fun accessibility tool that can be really helpful for our learners, right? So love this manipulative. Again, save this teacher maybe some time instead of bringing in real M&Ms at first until like maybe 3 days later after we worked on this manipulative, I'm going to bring the real M&Ms in. All right, so let's move on. Another good way of maybe using Lumio for upper elementary is just really maximizing with the graphic organizers. So a lot of us do number talks, and you have amazing slides probably already created, but you could always start creating them in Lumio as well. So I just wanted to showcase the graphic organizers. As a teacher, this was a 2-column organizer. As a teacher, all I did was add the words, same thing, my book icons activated, and then added some images here. So this is just a number talk. So they are thinking mental math here. So nothing crazy is going on this slide. I just wanted to highlight our graphic organizers for things like would you rather. So what I also could do is maybe after number talk, maybe I have them number talking to themselves. Maybe I add a check mark. And I quickly just turn this into an infinite cloner. And then I'm going to come back over here into a whole class whiteboard. And you know what? I'm going to have you move the check to which one you think is the correct answer in your mind. So even on the fly, I could come up, I didn't even think of that idea, honestly, until I was just honestly sitting here. So maybe on the fly, you can add some tools as you go. And I love your math brains because you are correct. In my eyes, 12 donuts for $8.64 is the better option. But maybe I have someone also think about option 1. Why would option 1 be a better option, right? So I don't have as many donuts. I don't eat 12 instead of, I eat 6 instead of 12, right? Maybe I don't need that extra 12 donuts. And then I'm going to turn off editing access. Good point, Christina. It has to be an editable text box. That is absolutely correct. So something else I can do. So maybe I want to, explain then why option 2 or option 1 is the better option. You always have access to quick resources. So what I mean by that is in this plus sign, people don't usually use this as often as they should. You have a whiteboard. So if I need to quickly throw in a whiteboard, kind of talk to them about the strategies, why I might choose option 2 instead of option 1, I will walk them through that for x equals 6. Right? I do have access to a quick whiteboard if I need one. Okay, just so keep that in mind as you're thinking math and need to like re-show a strategy or something like that. Okay. So that's number talks. Maybe I have them doing some math talks, not just number talks. I want them to actually talk to each other about what is the difference between squares and rectangles. I want them to put their thoughts in one column. I want the partners, while they're listening to their partner's thoughts, put those in the column. And then I also want them to agree or disagree with their partner. Obviously, you've seen individual handout a few times already. So I do want to just quickly show group workspace. Obviously, for something like this, they might be actually just doing it this individually, but I do want to just quickly show you what a group workspace would look like. So if I hop into group workspace here, or classroom management tab, and I click on group workspace, I'm now going to put you in small groups. So I have about 39 people. So the most you can have is 9. It's kind of doing the math for me here. So I'm going to just do groups of 9. There they all go. And you know what? Like Noelle and Ashley, I'm going to switch them up. Maybe I just need to switch some things up in here, so on and so forth. And then I hit start workspace. Okay, so then maybe if they're in my classroom, I'm going to say, go team 1, go huddle up together. Team 2, go huddle up together. Team 3, go huddle up together, and so on and so forth. Next to each other and fill out the worksheet together. Okay. Obviously, this one is more individual, but I just wanted to show what group workspace would look like if you tried it out. I also can hop into the team, so I can hop into team 9 and see how they're doing and how they're interacting with it. It will work just like a whole class whiteboard space, but in a smaller group. So I will see their contributions. I can hit the drop down menu. Let me see, team 1. I can hit the drop down menu and see which student is contributing to that page. Okay. So we've now seen individual, we've seen whole class, we've also seen group workspace, how we can make a manipulative, how we can find other manipulatives. So hopefully your wheels are turning for next school year for math and Lumio. The last strategy I'm going to show before we get into the teacher side and how did I create some of these things, I want us to explore one of my favorites. You know, nothing like a good game. And the kids love the game. So this one, I used to actually print out something very similar for my secondary math classroom. It was like a gallery walk and they had to go find the right answer. So this is a very similar type of activity where the next answers or that problem leads you to the next answer. So have some fun, play with this rank order. Obviously, we'll start with start. So they have to start with 689 plus 135. Where is that next answer? Let me do the math. Because my brain is donezo. So the next answer would be 824, so on and so forth. Let's see how my students are doing. Looks like 33 are still in progress. So rank order is one of those games that I actually see at activity dashboard. So right here it says view progress. I can actually see my students' work on the fly. I am not grading this, so don't worry if you just want to throw those answers on that rank order. But this is a fun one. Maybe they have like a whiteboard in front of them and they are just writing out the math problems. Maybe they're working on their mental math strategies. I used the image option versus writing out the problem. For me, as a math teacher, I guess my beef with text on a page, especially when I'm typing, I just never liked how math problems look when I type them out. For me, like, especially like fractions, I hate that they're always horizontal instead of vertical. Looks like 3 have finished, 30 are still in progress. Looks like my teachers here are taking this very seriously. They want to make sure that they get it right. Remember, not judging you. No judgment here. So the games are really easy to start if you're a new user. They're probably my go-to when I'm working with new users. And then rank order is one of those games that's going to give me that activity dashboard. So I'm gonna let's all look at my page again here and look at that view progress option. I can see real time my numbers are changing in activity completion. So I could always wait for everyone to wrap up and finish here. But just for sake of time, and obviously I want to look at how we can build some of these, I can also look at class results here. I can see a lot of you are doing a nice job. The average is 9.2 out of 10. But one of the big data pieces that I love is this third option over here, the 5 most frequently incorrect and correct answers. So I know as a teacher, maybe if I'm doing centers that day, which ones I can take away, but which ones maybe I keep in. So maybe correct, I take these top 5 out, but then incorrect, I keep these in the shuffle. So they keep practicing these multiple digit addition problems, right? So I can see the data, obviously, as it changes as you complete them. But I love this one over here. It's helpful for me, which ones I need to review, which versus the ones I know my kids are like crushing. I also have student progress over here. It's going to be blurred out, assuming that you might be sharing the screen on an interactive display or something like that. So I can say show student progress. And I can actually see like who is completed, who was still incomplete. Maybe they just haven't had a chance to hit start. Idle, maybe Katie ran to the nurse and she didn't get time to finish and her computer went idle. So I kind of get a general idea of where people were during this game. I also, Christina, I'm just going to use you as an example. I'm going to pop in Christina's here. I can see that she got all 10 correct. Go, Christina. Games and the data are always based off a student's first attempt at it. So they can play as many times as they want, but as the teacher, I'm only seeing the results from that first time. I know a lot of teachers who just put the game at the start of the lesson. Maybe they duplicate it and try again at another time. And I can see maybe at the end of the lesson or maybe the next day, and I can see their growth between the 2 games. And then, yeah, time on task. So I can see that she took about 4 minutes to complete it. I love that one because especially as a 7th grade teacher, I know when students just wanted to get something done. I'm sure it's the same in upper elementary. So if that said like 5 seconds on the activity and she got most of them wrong, I could say, hey, let's take our time. I'm going to give you another copy of it. Try again. Okay, so just some tips and tricks here about our games. The games, like I said, are super easy to create, and we can look at how to create one together. But someone mentioned, like, I love that they went through it and then checked it. So you have 3 options. Instantly find out. That's usually what I use for kindergarten. If they pop it in, it shoots out if it's wrong. You can say when prompted or don't check it off because this is an opinion-based one. So if you were my ambassador session, you saw that option. I think this is a really awesome time for us to switch over. So what we're going to do here is we're going to switch over to the teacher side. So you can see how I built some of these things out. So what you'll need to do is in your 3 lines at the top, I'm going to have you leave class or leave session, whatever it may say. It usually says like leave class here as a student. I'll see my numbers go down here. As the teacher, I also can say edit and remove. This is sometimes a good option, especially for little ones, 3rd grade. They're just getting used to like being on a computer and in a sense. By 3rd grade, they're pretty independent on a computer. But they don't realize that they have another teacher who uses Lumio. It's easy. It's nice for them to be they've left a class, so they're ready to join another one. So I always tell teachers just get in the habit of just removing everyone and then going from there. We are going to log into the teacher side. So I'm going to end this lesson. You are successful when you can get yourself here. We have about 15, 20, stretch would be like 25 minutes here. So I do want to spend some time just building some of these out. It might not be exactly how I built it in terms of like exactly what it looks like, just because of time's sake. But I just want to at least show you how my logic behind some of the things I just created. So I typically, I'll wait here, just give everyone a second to get into their Lumio on the teacher side. So logging in. If you have any issues, Holly, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that Carla specifically would love for you to show us the rank order.
Yes, yes, yes. I will for sure be showing the rank order because, like I said, that is the good spot for our new users to start. Alrighty. So a couple things here as a teacher. Remember, we are recording. So if there's anything you miss, go back into the recording, especially to this spot on the teacher side. Just some housekeeping things to keep in mind. This name right here, that's student facing. So if you don't want your students to be like, hey, what's up, Michelle? What's going on today? You might want to change that name. So if you say edit class, you have this option to rename yourself. This is where I might typically say like my real name, Mrs. Gray here. And then one more thing to keep in mind in edit class is managing immersive reader. Sometimes this is defaulted as off. So if that's an option you want turned on for your students, there's some teachers who want that turned on. You just want to make sure it's swiped on. My big red flag, if I notice that it's turned off, is that book icon is not in my students toolbar, nor is it in my toolbar. All right. I mentioned before, there's a lot of amazing resources that you don't always have to reinvent the wheel in our Lumio library. You have featured, so a lot of going back to school things are in here. You also have manage your classroom for my elementary teachers. Obviously, it's most of you here. A lot of you like attendance or morning meeting things. Manage your classroom is really awesome. Manipulatives obviously are amazing. If I say see more, there's so many in here that you can pull from and use in your classroom. So if you need a maybe these algebra tiles because we're doing that in class, you can click on it, you can preview it, but you can also save it to your library. So highly recommend when you have some time after Palooza and when you start thinking about next school year, looking at some of these resources in the Lumio library. There's also a category for fractions, multiplication. We just added jump math in here recently. I haven't had a chance to actually explore their resources just yet, but I can't wait to. But there's some other things in here. So again, highly recommend hopping in here and looking at some of these Lumio library resources. So I'm going to go back to my library and let's build some of those activities out together, if you will. So right under my name, I have the option for new. So I'm going to click on new. And let's just start with that manipulative with the M&Ms, if you will. Let's start there. Yeah. You have all these options. If you're new to Lumio, this could feel overwhelming, but there's these little graduation caps everywhere you navigate in Lumio. If I click on it, I'll get a short video of how it works, or even a strategy, right, Holly, are in these videos. So definitely recommend, like, don't just ignore those graduation caps. Even if I jump in game based, every game has one. So highly recommend just, looking at these when you're like, what is that? But I'm just going to open up a new page. And I honestly started with just a blank page. Something that, like, I take for granted is just starting with a blank page. I usually have these like pretty slides and things like that, but I'm going to just start with a blank page. I see that it's up here. Why I think the student side and understanding the student side is so important is because the toolbar is essentially the same. So I have my pen tool, I have my text tool, image tool, I have an equation editor, which is really important for my math teachers. Even in elementary, if I click on the equation editor and click on the space, people don't realize they see like x and square roots and things like that, and they're like, when will I need that for elementary? Obviously, I love the fraction one, saves me a lot of time for those issues with horizontal fractions. So keep that in mind. I also have, if I click on the equation editor, something I found when I was working with the immersive reader team, Holly, in London for BET, they showed me this and I was like, I never even realized that was in there. I think it's the, yep, tab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth tab over, there's actually addition and division setups here. So I've always looked for horizontal or vertical addition problems. This is so key. I did not know this was in here. And now I can easily type those problems out vertically. Love it a lot more than horizontal. So just kept that in mind. I'm gonna add another blank one so we can see how I actually did the real one. Actually, no, I'm just gonna save time here and just delete. So I use my text tool. That's how I did the place value. Is so sweet. It is so sweet, or can be so sweet. Whatever I put, place value is so sweet. And then I don't know if anyone else here does this, but I go through hyperfixations with fonts. Right now, I'm a Poppins girl. It's my go-to. I use it all the time. Anything but Arial is my go-to. Place value is so, so sweet. Biggest thing to keep in mind, lock things down that you are done with. So I am locking this text down so my students don't move it on me. Okay, lock it down, lock it down. See, now the lock exists. Okay. I'm not going to build this out identically to what it was just because of time's sake, but I just want you to look at my logic when I was making this. Okay, so next thing I did was I brought that M&M in. So you have your shape tool up here. And in my shape tool, I have circles. I just brought in a circle. I made it a little smaller. I have these tools up here. We kind of know what they mean. So this is like thickness. So I made it a little less thick. I made it the M&M color. So red or green is my favorite color. So let's go green. I work smarter, not harder. So you'll see something in just a second. But I added that little M on top. So I typed M here. And I added it on here. If you hold down shift, hold it down, keep holding it down, and I have M selected and I select the circle 2, it will group them together. I'll hit group. Now they're together. Woo! All together. Remember, recording. Like I said, I work smarter, not harder. So that's when I duplicated this, double clicked. Maybe I work smarter, not harder before I grouped them, but it's fine. Ungroup. And I want to change that color to yellow. And I grouped them. Maybe I made the shapes ahead of time, but it's okay. Okay. So I did that for all the colors. And then I hit shift and I held them all at the same time. Okay, unshift. Now they're all highlighted. Imagine all the colors are highlighted. When I hit the drop down menu, you get the option for infinite clone. So now I'll infinitely clone them all at the same time. And now all of these are ready to go. I obviously made all of the M&Ms, I made the squares, did all those things, but I just wanted to just show some of the tips and tricks. And then obviously, I think now that you know text, grouping, individual, that's how I brought the other pictures in. And then lastly, same thing, I used the image tool. I went to image here, and there is a beta option that you can turn on, but I said hand, and I said clip art. And that's how I brought in that hand. Where is that? Boop, boop. And I locked it in place. Okay. So now that would be ready to go for me. Obviously, I would want to maybe delete all these. One other tool that you shouldn't take for granted is this talking head up here, this little talking head. If I click on the talking head, it's called your instructional audio. If I can talk to my kids 5 minutes per page, boys and girls, make sure you're using your place value strategies to complete this M&M game. Maybe I give them more tips and tricks. Boys and girls, make sure you're using your place value strategies, and I'll hit add. And now that talking head is ready for them. On the horizon that I'm very, very, very excited for is audio being attached to objects, which is going to be really amazing, and also student audio back to you, which is going to be chef's kiss. All right, and then finally, let's just 2 more here, the graphic organizer real fast, and the ranking game. So in the plus sign, I can keep adding to my slides. I have graphic organizers here. This is where I found my 2-column organizer. You also could always just go to templates here. And in one of these templates, I think I said classroom kids, I found that 2-column organizer. There it was, all different colors. And I just brought one in and added some text to it. Nothing crazy. I just changed this to like that question about like what's the difference between a square and a rectangle. And I added all those things. I also did the donuts one. I added the donuts here, all that good stuff. Okay. And then finally, the rank order. So I'm going to go to my rank order. And I am just going to do something real fast so you don't even see it. Magic. In the file, you'll notice that I made this slide here. You can add images to a rank order. You can add text to a rank order. So let's look at what a rank order looks like. So if I go to my game-based activities here, here is rank order. I've seen teachers use this for putting fractions in order, put the decimals in order. I've seen an ELA teacher have a story and then they rank the plot of the story. So there's so many ways that you can use rank order. But this is where I I knew I didn't want to put text. I wanted to put images. So I just used the same strategies. I used my text tool. I used grouping on an image. And I took little quick screenshots of this. You do not have to do it this way. I just wanted to do it that way, obviously. And I took little screenshots ahead of time of each one of these. Again, this is actually in the file. I left this slide at the bottom of it. So when you get the file, you'll have access to the slide and you can just put your own numbers here if you feel like it. But if I go back to my rank order, I said that it was, you're going to start here with my label and then you're going to finish here. Okay. We've got 10 more minutes max here. And then I did my images. Instead of writing out like 635 plus 120, like I just thought that would look weird. So that's why I did the screenshot thing. I go to my image tool. I'll hit select image and edition rank game. And there are all the screenshots ahead of time. So start. Essentially, a teacher's just building out the answer key here, honestly. Select again, number one, so on and so forth. I would go through and do this over and over. Unfortunately, I can't like just drop them all at the same time. You'll also notice that there's only 7 items remaining. So this was perfectly 10 for me. And imagine I go through all of these. I do all of them. I accidentally put that one ahead, but it's okay. I do all 10 of them. Carla, I think you said her name was Holly, right? You have 3 options for how you want students to get their answers checked. Instantly would shoot out if they're wrong. When prompted is what I chose. You had to go through all 10 to find out if you were right or wrong. Or don't check would be more of like an opinion-based rank order. Carla, kind of give me a thumbs up if you saw that and makes sense. Or like, woohoo, in the chat. Beautiful. There we go. Love that, Carla. So you might want to play around depending on the activity, what that looks like for a student. And then I would hit next. After I put all 10 in here, obviously, I would hit next. There's all these like fun different themes that you can choose from. For the most part, I typically just use the themes, but you can say custom. The only thing that trips people up with custom is that they think like, okay, I hit custom, what's going on? You have to hit next. And this is where I could edit my theme. I can change things around. I can customize it a little bit more than I would on those other themes previously. I can change it to be different colors here. So I actually think I did choose a custom and I said like a starry night. Like the Van Gogh painting. Should have known that's what I was going to get. You know what? Why not? I'll hit OK. I only can use a portion of it. I'll hit save. And there's that custom background. I don't see the colors popping out like I would. So maybe I choose a different one. But for the most part, whatever. That works for the time being. And then I'll hit finish. And then I can preview it, see if it looks good. Great. Maybe that's where I'm like, I don't like how that color's showing, so maybe I change the background. You can like make a custom background and take a screenshot of it and then bring it in that way, but I just quickly did this for today's sake. If you're someone who like preps ahead of time, you might call this the multi-digit addition game, whatever you want to call it. You may do the talking head if you want. But after that, you pretty much, I was queen of untitled documents. Make sure you title it. I'm going to call this for L math example. Maybe you make it period 1, period 2, period 3, whatever you need to call it, and then hit finish editing. I would be able to start it up when I'm ready to go or share it out to my students with this share link in the 3 dots. So I can share it out with them. I can share it with maybe Holly and I were colleagues. I'm like, hey girl, I made this quick M&M manipulative. Maybe you'll want it. I can take that link and share it with her. You have some options with Lumio, and hopefully you'll dive a little bit deeper. But hopefully you saw some strategies in this session for how you can use it in your upper elementary math class. I'm going to start this up again. Go down to the right slide. You obviously have these amazing resources moving forward. We're always doing webinars throughout the school year. Obviously, they just slowed down just because Palooza is one of our big events, and also teachers on summer break. So we have webinars throughout the school year. We'll definitely do something for elementary math at the start of the year or even throughout the school year. We have our ambassador community. So all the presenters other than our team that you're seeing today are all Lumio ambassadors. We also have a Lumio Academy. So if you're more of a self-paced learner and want to learn how to use Lumio at your own pace, definitely check out the Lumio Academy. There's a getting started, and there's also a level 1 educator course. So definitely highly recommend them. After obviously you go through all of your Palooza sessions, I think that's always a great place to go. We always have our socials that you can follow for tips and tricks. We also have a Facebook group called the Lumio Educators. Remember this slide. This slide deck will be shared out with you. And then finally, we just want to thank you all. Obviously, we'll stick around if there's no questions. I've been trying to be more proactive throughout today's session just to see if there was any questions in the chat that maybe went unanswered. But please complete today's survey with this. Once you get it, you'll get finished, you'll get a certificate for today's session. Also, we are looking for those to share out. And I know Holly's going to explain all of this about what you learned today. So Holly, I think I'm going to pass it over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michelle. And thanks everyone for joining us today. So we would love for you to be sharing about what you learned on social. We've got a graphic asset that you can share and to share all of the things that you've learned. We've also, of course, the survey, the link is in the chat. Michelle's going to get that for you again. Perfect. You can fill out your survey to get your certificate for attending today. Remember that your follow-up resources and recordings will be coming to your inbox early next week, so you can review any information that you missed. And also, we do have a special promotion going on right now for our Lumio Spark plan. It is buy one, get one free right now. I've dropped the link there in the chat so you can learn more about that promotion. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Michelle, and we hope to see you at another Lumio Palooza session today or tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.